Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and today we are rejoined, once again, by the always awesome Michael Malls. Mike, welcome.
Hello, I'm back.
You're back.
Hello. Back on podcast radio. Yes, I'm back. Hello, good speaking. Is that awkward enough? I don't think so. Okay, yeah. Hello, Chris, it's good to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for... Thank you for coming in through Skype again, sir. So this...
for having me.
Pardon?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Today we're going to talk about which prequel series would you say is worse? The Hobbit or the Star Wars prequels?
The Hobbit. The Hobbit trilogy has little, if any, redeeming quality. Has any redeeming quality. Okay.
Wow.
You're very sad? You're very sad.
No.
This is controversial.
I'm surprised.
Tommy and Christian was controversial. Okay. No, I obviously, the Star Wars prequels are universally, almost universally, disdained.
Yeah.
But like I've seen a lot of video essays and read things from people that are associated or not associated officially with Lucasfilm about how the prequels, though poorly executed, were actually not that bad.
Right.
If you look at the story of them and the concepts, there's some goodness there. It's just they were very poorly executed.
Yeah.
There's a really good idea that I've seen many times about how before the prequels came out, we had this idea of the Jedi being like the coolest thing ever. These were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. So like we were going to see the Jedi in the prequels, right?
Yeah. And
even watching 1 to 3, it never really clicked. I was always thinking that these guys they were like the Jedi. They're the good guys, and they did nothing wrong, and they were betrayed by Vader and Palpatine. But no, the Jedi had some issues.
Yeah.
They led to their own destruction in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Through unwavering dogma.
And that,
so there's some really interesting concepts like that in the prequels.
Yeah. Well, that's something.
I don't know why you're laughing at me. Why are you laughing?
No. I'm not laughing at you. I'm chuckling along with, just because. In one hand, I was thinking of, because I kept on going to say, well, in agreement with you, but then I was mentally hearing you being like, let me finish.
No, I was hoping you'd jump in because I kept hearing pauses. I'm like, I have to keep talking.
Oh yeah, no. No, and I. Like, that's something that they flush out in the mostly excellent CG Clone Wars show, where it's the takeaway out of that more than anything else is like, look, man, the Order wasn't perfect. It was pretty messed up. Like, it's great to imagine that Palpatine was this insane, like, Machiavellian level evil who was just masterminded the downfall of everything, which he did, but the show explores, like, it's not just the politicians that made that easy for him. It was also the Order being just, like, stuck.
The Jedi kind of set themselves up to fail.
Yeah.
Or to be taken down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the prequels are... They're better in my mind than they have been for the past 10 years.
Right. Well, like...
Go on.
I think I'm at the point where I agree with you. Just like... And it was a couple of years... I never thought I'd say that about the Star Wars prequels, because as much... You can find good in there, but they're mostly terrible. Just in terms of execution and not living up to hype. And I give Peter Jackson more slack than I do Lucas, just because Lucas didn't have studio interference and wasn't like, well, we've already spent a year and a half on pre-production for another movie that we're not giving you've just got to go.
Yeah.
So then you try to give him some...
Lucas had full control, so he has full responsibility.
Exactly. Whereas Jackson, like, when you look at, like, just the story and how he pulled off Lord of the Rings, where you're just like, okay, this... Like, that's a masterpiece. Those films are amazing. Like...
Oh, yeah.
I was saying, like, it's Jill's like, number one franchise, and for me, it's up there, but I'm like... My original love franchise is Star Wars, but the film fan inside of me cannot deny that they are better made films, and they're just so wonderful. So then, it's even more perplexing, like how The Hobbit ended up being the shambles that those movies are.
Yeah, they were like butter scraped over too much bread. There's a reference.
Nice.
I will see myself out.
But it's a conversation I've seen come up, and I remember people when the first Hobbit came out, An Unexpected Journey, and I was seeing some early reactions from people, and they're like, "Oh, it's just as good as Fellowship," and I'm like, "Don't you dare crap on Fellowship."
Don't you dare. I hate when people say that Fellowship was the worst one. Like, shut up.
No, Fellowship's amazing.
It was so amazing.
Well, when someone's like, I got asked, they're like, what do you think the worst Lord of the Rings is? And then I'm like, can I include The Hobbit? And they're like, no, I mean out of the first three. I'm like, there isn't a worst one. Because...
The least best one.
Exactly. Like, Fellowship is... When I hear people say that, I'm like, but Fellowship balanced 13 or so characters so well, where... And that was the frustrating thing watching The Hobbit, where by the end of the first one, I'm like, how do I know next to nothing except for about Thorin, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't even know the dwarves' names.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I knew them from the book, like Billy, Keely,
yeah.
Right? But like, we don't know them. Like,
no.
In Lord of the Rings, we knew Aragorn, we knew Legolas, we knew everyone. We knew all four of the Hobbits.
You knew their motivations. You knew what they were. You knew how the ring would affect them and the stuff going on. And then, outside of Martin Freeman's excellent Bilbo, and I'll always watch Ian McKellen play Gandalf because he just does it well. Like, outside of that, there's really not much in it for me.
I remember, like, when it came out that they were making the movie, it was going to be 2 movies. People were like, 2?
Yeah.
All right.
And the explanation made sense at the time, because they're like, well, it's going to be The Hobbit, but then the second one is going to be segueing into how Peter's world of Middle-earth looked, where I'm like, okay, that I can get behind a bit.
And then, then they said, well, we're making money, so we're going to make a 3rd one.
Yeah.
And everyone was just kind of like, what's going to be in it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have left?
Yeah. How are you stretching? I'll admit, I've never read The Hobbit. Like, I read Lord of the Rings in high school. Which was crazy, because I read it after I saw Fellowship. So when I saw Fellowship, I was like emotionally devastated, because I thought Gandalf was dead. You knew Boromir was dead, and he went out like such a champ. And then you're like, they're gonna kill Sam briefly? Like, I remember being in the theater being like, how bloodthirsty is this movie? They're gonna drown Sam.
Yeah.
And then I read the books in between. I was like, wow, these movies are amazing. And sorry, book purists, I like them, but the writing's not always my thing. I don't care about the Hobbit's feet hair. Just friggin' get back to Helm's Deep.
It's a very dry book.
It can be, yeah.
It put me to sleep on many occasions.
But, like, I'd never read The Hobbit, but then hearing about the length, I'm like, how are you gonna make 3 movies out of it? And 3 movies that are 3 hours each.
Yeah.
Like...
That was... Yeah. How are you gonna get 9 hours out of this 300-page novel?
And then that was especially after watching the extended editions recently, which again on Blu-ray are just stunning. Like how by the end of one 3-hour movie or 3 3-hour movies, do I still know less about the characters than I did with the other ones? Like Fellowship was a shorter runtime in the theatrical cut than the Hobbits was. And you knew the characters. Like, they were just so well developed. It's, for film-wise, it's probably like my standard, or the one I'd be like, if you want to develop your characters for a series or an ensemble, look to this. Because it just, everyone had an identity. And, the Hobbit's just not good. Like, it's got some good...
No, it's just not. I remember just, like, each time the movie ended, I was like... Alright, I'm going home now. Like, I wasn't sitting there like, wow, or letting anything wash over me. It's just like, well, alright, time to go home.
Like, there's stuff in there that's good. Like, Martin Freeman he's great as Bilbo. Good. Yeah, I wish... How'd he become, like, an extra in his own movie? And then... Like, even though the White Council stuff with Sauron was... I think that was added from what? The Unfinished Tales?
I think it was from the appendices.
Oh, okay.
Was it?
The appendices were at the end of...
Most of the extra stuff is from the appendices. At
right.
the end of Return of the King.
Like, I dug it. I know it doesn't fit with the movie, but I'm like, whatever. It gives these characters that I like something to do, because I know these characters. Because other movies establish them. Because these ones aren't establishing anybody.
Right. Well, I think, that's one of the things they did. I think that was more of a studio decision. Like, we need brand recognition. Bring in Legolas. But he wasn't in the book. So what? People know him. Yeah.
And now we've got to, at some point, try to explain, like, how Legolas went Benjamin Buttoned back to... From Battle of Five Armies, where 60 years later, his voice is a lot higher, and he looks a lot younger.
He looks younger.
Yeah.
Well, you just kind of have to ignore that.
Almost, well, it was a little touch. Jill watched Battle of Five Armies recently, because I was working in the evening, and she's like, I tried to watch The Hobbits, I fast-forwarded through them a lot. And then at the end... Then at the end of it, though, I loved where it was like the old Bilbo reuniting with Gandalf from the end of Fellowship, or the beginning of Fellowship, and then it's like they cut out the line of "You haven't aged a day," where it's like, you can't bust that out now because we watched a different actor. Different actor.
No, I did like that at the end of Battle of Five Armies when they kind of tied it right into the beginning of Fellowship. Like, oh, I feel warm.
Yeah.
I know that, and it makes me happy. That was nice.
In some way, I think it's like it's a longer version of the most recent Beauty and the Beast movie, in the sense of it just reminded me of any time it emulated what it was lifting from. I'm just like, you're just making me very aware of how superior that previous one was to you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let me get off on a tangent on that one. I was in the car the other day rocking out to the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack.
Because it's amazing!
And there was the opening, what are they? It's called Belle. The track's called Belle.
Yeah.
Where the bonjour.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the animated one, there's a line, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but it hasn't been on the podcast, so we'll continue. I need 6 eggs. That's too expensive.
Yeah, that's too expensive.
Movie, 2 people say that. The woman says, I need 6 eggs. And in a separate conversation, just that's overheard, a man says that's too expensive, who is in a separate transaction. In the live-action movie, the same guy says both lines, and it doesn't make any sense. I hate it so much. I'm in the theater like, no! I'm a grown man. Theater watching this movie alone. Like, no, that is wrong. You cannot just crap on my favorite Disney movie like that.
Like,
there are a lot of little things in that live action. Like, no, that is wrong. That is
Beast
linguistically incorrect.
Like, it's just, I want to like it more than I do. Like, I need to try to give it another chance. But Jill and I watched that one. I'm just like, can we just watch the animated one?
Yeah.
That's what I was left feeling with. Like, even though the Beast had a song and it was well sung, I didn't like the look of the Beast. Gaston, I like Gaston, but I'm like, his song Gaston is one of my favorite Disney songs. It's a great villain song. And I'm like, you're singing about how manly you are, but you're not singing it manly enough. Like,
yeah. Well, everyone said Hugh Jackman should have played Gaston, but he's a little too old.
I would have rolled with it. Whatever.
Oh, yeah, I would have been fine. I don't care. I really don't care. Yeah. There were a lot of little things that, like, bothered me about the live action, just how they changed characters, or, like, didn't make them, like, Gaston wasn't Gaston enough.
Yeah.
Like, there was something, I forget what my criticism was. It was like, he wasn't the bad guy. He was just kind of like, I don't know. He didn't have the same pomposity as the animated Gaston.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. There were a lot of little things. They were just like, they didn't get the characters. I mean, it's right there. It's in the Disney movie. Just, if you're going to copy it, what are you doing? It's right there.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing that, like, when the Beast squared off with the wolves, I'm just like, it's not that it's bad, but the cartoon version of it is just, it's one that I still love every time. Like, when that scene's coming up, I'm like, yes, man, yes! Because they just, it's fantastic. I don't know what it is. It's a small little scene, but they just, it kicks butt in that movie. I just love seeing the Beast throw around some wolves, like ragdolling him as he's protecting Belle, because it's that moment where you're like, wow, he's not just a pompous jerk.
Yes.
And then
he can wrestle.
He can wrestle some dogs. A rub-a-dob-dob. But to give the live action credit, it had Ewan McGregor, and Ewan McGregor's always a plus.
He was not good in that. I did not enjoy Ewan McGregor in that. No. Ian McKellen was great as Cogsworth. I really enjoyed him. Yes. But I did not enjoy Ewan McGregor. His terrible French accent. And that was a re-record. That was his second attempt at a French accent.
Huh.
Thinking he had done it better. But no. Because he has a French wife, right? His wife was French, so she's like, your accent is terrible. So he redid the lines. And he still didn't do any better. I need to hear the original.
I enjoyed it, but that's where we'll have to respectfully disagree.
Yes, I hold it to a very high standard. I think it was like one of my first movies that I saw in the theater,
right?
And it's probably my favorite Disney movie. So
it's up there for me, and it wasn't always. One of my original, like, Lion King is still incredibly high for me, and then Beauty and the Beast. It's been in the past 10 or so years. So in my 20s to 30s, where I'm like, this movie's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It is.
And it's beautifully drawn.
Yeah.
I could talk about that for a long time. How just like the skill and animation that they had back then is amazing.
Yeah.
Just like robes flowing. You think
that the CG in Lord of the Rings, which was I think they started shooting like 98, because it came out in.
I think they started shooting 90. They did a 99-2000 shoot, and then the first one came out in 2001.
Yeah, and then the CGI from those three holds up better, much better than the CG in The Hobbit, and it's just. And that was another thing that I found so disappointing for the movies for me, and I think the Honest Trailers guys made a joke out of it, where when they did the Honest trailer for Lord of the Rings, they're like, tour New Zealand, like, see New Zealand's greatest tourist locations, and then The Hobbit's like, take a tour of New Zealand's greatest green screens, and you're just, it's just, so much of it was just, like, so many people were like, it's not as bad as the prequels, and it checks off a lot of the same marks as the wrong things from the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing I really love about Lord of the Rings, and why I often put it above Star Wars, is because it has so much depth and so much emotional weight to it.
Yeah.
And it's so well. They're so well made. Like it's astounding. Where like the Hobbit movies were empty. They had no heart, no emotion whatsoever. I didn't care. I knew Bilbo was going to survive. I knew, like, it was going to be fine.
Yeah. Well,
there was like, you knew everything was going to work out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you can, just to jump to Star Wars for a sec, like Rogue One, I have to applaud. It is to me the best Star Wars movie since Empire. And with that one, like, I was wondering, how are you going to get me invested? How are you going to get audiences invested when we know the outcome of this story? Like, you're setting it up right before A New Hope, but they did it. They got you to care about the characters. They got you wrapped up in the story. So that is doable, but it just didn't happen in the Hobbit one. Yeah. Where it's just, I know Bilbo's going to be okay. To give credit where it's due, Smaug was amazing. I'm like, okay, to heck with the book. Just give me the dragon. Just give me the dragon the whole movie. Like, as soon as he died at the beginning of Battle of Five Armies, I'm like, I'm good to go. Like, I want to watch the rest of this, but I don't care because the best character's gone.
Yeah. It was just, it was empty. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
The Hobbit movies were empty. That's all I gotta say about that.
It's one of those where I was talking with Steve on a podcast that I'll be posting soon, and it was like a question people constantly talk about is like, do you think the Star Wars prequels should get remade? And then more so, I'm like, I'd rather see The Hobbit get remade, and I would rather see Jackson do it, just like actually give him that redemption chance, just because we've seen what he can do in this world. When it's not so much studio crap, when it's working against shooting without a script, where when that tidbit came out, where it's like we were shooting most of the Battle of Five Armies without a script, I'm like, well, you could tell. When you
there's, I think it was in a behind the scenes clip from the DVD where he has guys in the battle on a green screen, and she's like, just like look like you're fighting. We'll put it together. We'll make a battle.
And you just see footage of him looking just so wrecked and just like emotionally distraught, just like he's just pale and everything. I'm like, man, I don't want to rip on these movies too bad because I know it was beyond your control, but at the same point, well, go on.
Yes. I just imagine it was a very soul-crushing experience for him.
Yeah.
He hasn't really done anything since.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I do feel a bit bad for him because I enjoyed his King Kong remake over length as it was. Yeah. But I'm like, after Lord of the Rings, when everybody's like, oh man, the sky is the limit for this guy, it's like, it hasn't panned out for him as much.
Yeah, he did the Lovely Bones that...
I forgot about that.
Up, and then nobody saw it, and it just faded into obscurity. Like, nothing happened. He's restoring World War I footage now. Whatever.
Right on.
I'm sure he's making enough money from residuals from Lord of the Rings. He just has to sit around and doesn't have to do anything, but that's no fun.
No. Well, and there's the Amazon show, so people are coming out eventually.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. I've got a wish list, but where it's just like, I posted the wish list on the blog last week, where I'm just like, redeem Radagast, and I'd love it if you could do it. Give me a season in the First Age. Just do that.
Yeah.
Because that way.
I'm wondering because like the Tolkien family, they don't want any more like cinematic depictions. So what do the rights that they've sold cover? Like, can they do anything outside of the Lord of the Rings, like the third?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but it all happened because Christopher Tolkien stepped down. I mean, at the ripe young age of 93.
Yeah, I often forget how old that man must be.
Yeah, and like I've been listening to an excellent Lord of the Rings podcast. Shout out to An Unexpected Podcast.
What a good name.
They've got 3 episodes so far. They get together every couple weeks and they read through a chapter and they're talking about all this stuff from the books and adding their perspectives. It's really good. But they were like, no, that guy was a writing beast. He just didn't stop working. And they're like, he retired at 93. I'm like, man, I'm 30 and I want to retire in 5 years. Just somehow make money. But
yeah, and I'm so done with work. But that's another story.
I'd love it if the Jackson who did like Lord of the Rings, the first 3, could somehow get his shot at redemption, just because you're like, this isn't the note you wanted to go out on. Like, you deserve better.
Same with George Lucas. I want him to come back and, like, imagine the scandal if Lucasfilm announced that he was doing one more Star Wars movie, and then he totally killed it, like, he made the best one ever.
Yeah. And that's where...
Scandal.
And that's where he ends it with the shot at the end of the credits of him in a hot tub with money and gravy.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigar of like $100. Thanks for your money, suckers. And then...
Exactly. I want George Lucas to be redeemed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was hated for so long. He still is. No, he's kind of coming around. People are appreciating him. I guess the wounds have healed. I don't know.
Wow, that voice crack was high. Well, let's just... I think that the problem with him was he was way too involved. And I mean that in the most lovingly fan respecting way possible, where with the original trilogy he removed himself a bit, and then those were, and with all respect, it's just like Empire and Jedi were the best ones, and it was the ones where he wrote it, but he had people go like edit the dialogue and do rewrites, and there were other directors. And they got better performances out of the actors. Like, he's got a lot of strengths, but directing, and especially with love dialogue or writing dialogue, necessarily isn't the highest one.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see him come back and be more involved. Just maybe not in the Anakin, you're breaking... Like, how do you get a bad performance out of Natalie Portman?
That was so bad.
Yeah.
Or when she's brushing her hair, you are so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's only because I'm so in love.
Yeah, no.
And then there's some other crap line after that. I don't
know. Oh, there's so many bad lines. Like, yeah. So at this point...
Maybe it's because I'm beautiful, because I'm so in love. That's my
Yeah, no. It's like... So, it's only because I'm so in love, and you're just like, oh, this is terrible. This is awful.
Breaking my heart.
Yeah. And how do you get a bad performance out of Natalie Portman? I don't. Anyways,
you know what I wish they had done in Revenge of the Sith, and I understand there's time constraints. I wish that they had been a little more explicit with a couple things, namely how Anakin was created. It was kind of suggested that Sidious and possibly Plagueis together, messed around with the dark side, created Anakin.
It
was insinuated but it should have been a little more in your face.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of speculation with that, and I remember where it was like, was it Plagueis? And then there was other stuff in the now non-canon expanded universe where it was suggested that it wasn't him, but it was the Force in response. The
Force putting things, yeah.
Where it's like, you've done some messed up stuff. So now it was like the Force responding, where even that, like, that would have been nice. Or it's interesting where you see Anakin on the Clone Wars show and you're like, that's a great character.
Yeah.
Where you can see him towing the line between, where you're like, I could see him, how he could fall to the dark side, and I could see like that messed up stuff, but I can also see why you want me to root for him as this amazing Jedi and great hero, because he's both those things in the show. Whereas in the movies, it's just, we're told, we're never shown, and then it's just like, oh hey, we gotta kill kids now, which I still love that scene, as messed up as that sounds. Like, I was in. I was.
Oh yeah, I was waiting. Like, I remember for the movies, like, he's going to have to kill the children, isn't he? Can't wait for that moment.
Well, it's more like, are they gonna do it? Like, are they gonna?
Yeah, are they going to do it? Are they just gonna like show the dead bodies on the floor?
And that, like, even though
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B,
they didn't. I don't think they could have shown him like slicing up kids, because then you'd been like,
I would have liked one shot of him like picking up a kid by his collar and putting a lightsaber through his chest and just dropping him. Like, we don't even need decapitations.
No.
Just like, Master Skywalker. Right through.
It'd be cinematic, but it'd be messed up.
This is even better. I got it.
Oh no.
Okay, so the kid, like, cuts away to whatever's going on with Obi-Wan and Yoda, I guess. Whatever. Cuts away from Anakin's part. And then it comes back and, like, there's a kid hiding behind one of, like, the council chairs. And he's like, it's kind of like a horror movie kind of thing. And then the lightsaber just comes through the chair.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Not through his head or anything.
Yeah, no. Where it's, I don't think he could have done that. At some point they would have been like, no. Like, I watched it, and even though it was an R-rated horror movie, I was still like, surprised that they showed a kid's arm getting bitten off, where I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm surprised at that. Yeah, that's surprising. Like, oh, he's just gonna get pulled into the sewer and it's gonna be some screams, cut to the titles, but no, they ripped his arm right off.
Yeah, kid bled. They don't do that often. So I do gotta wrap this up. So
okay, fine. Don't let me get to my second point.
No, get to your second point, bro.
The fan theory, I guess it is, that Padme died not because she had a broken heart, but because Sidious sucked the life out of her to keep Anakin alive.
That's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. That'd be very cool.
Dark side, robbing her life to maintain his. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should have been a little more explicit about the creation of Anakin thing. Like, figure it out. Come on, guys. Just give us something. I know a lot of people say you don't have to spell it out for us, but spell it out for us.
Well, and it's also the other thing with that is have him explain why she's dying, so it's not just she died of a broken heart.
Well, yeah, like
that's fun poetry, but it's not good cinematically.
Yeah, like the idea is that it's a droid that says that for reasons beyond what we understand. She's dying. The droid can't understand the nature of the Force. So if the dark side is taking the life from her and putting it in Anakin, the droid wouldn't understand. So that's a supporting pillar of the fan theory, which I think is pretty cool, man. Like, yeah.
I would have with that and that is a pretty cool fan theory. Sorry, it sidetracked me. I would have just loved in the movie just even a little bit of dialogue, like, we don't know what's up, her organs are shutting down, like, just something to add a little more heaviness, just because then it was so implied, like, she lost the will. It's like, she's lost the will to live. Okay, give me more. Just
yeah. And
even if it's just, even if you're not actually like telling me why she's lost the will to live, it could be like, we don't know what's wrong. She's having hallucinations. She's in and out of consciousness. Like, make it seem more dire, because it's just like, okay, she was strangled for 30 seconds. She dropped unconscious, and now it's like she's on the delivery table. What do you want me to call the kids? Oh, this, and this, and like some little sad noises here and there, and then it's like, they're still getting him. Peace out.
Yeah. Word to your mother.
Like, just something. Just make it a little more. Yeah.
Something.
Which, one of the just to jump back to the Hobbit, just because I can. One of the things I remember from watching the first one, and it's rare that I'm in a movie where I'm like this, where all the dwarves were in peril at the end, like they're dangling, and I'm just like, my gut reaction was, I'm like, kill some of them off, man. Then the herd, because I don't know anything about these characters. Like, you've given me no reason to care or be invested, so I'm not. I'm not drawn in. Where I remember with Lord of the Rings, when Boromir died, heck, man, I almost cry when I watch it now, because it's just so impactful.
Man, I remember waiting. It was just a year between those movies, but like that was the longest year waiting for the next one, right?
Yeah. And with these, it with the Hobbit ones, it wasn't, and it's just, at that point, I'm like, never during Fellowship or Towers or Return of the King would I want them to kill a character. And then with these, I'm like, I want you to kill this character because they're annoying and they serve no purpose. And then, like, the sidekick from Lake Town, and then you find out he did get killed, but it's in a deleted scene. And for the extended edition, you're like, no, put that on film because he's awful and that it would have done something. But then, with the first one, I was just genuinely like, man, Gandalf and Bilbo are going to be okay. I'm pretty, like, Thorin's going to make it. But these other 12 or 11 extras that I don't care about because you've given me no reason to care, like, drop some of them off so I'll feel something.
Yeah, the only one I really cared about was Balin, because it was his tomb in the Mines of Moria. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, let's get to know him, and so that scene in Fellowship will have a little more impact. Oh, we thought he was alive and well in Moria, but no, he did.
Yeah. He did.
That would have been great if you walk into Balin's tomb, they see that he's dead, Gimli just turns to the camera. He did.
He did.
But no, let's be like someone else. Like, say like Pippin did it. He did.
That would be very in line with Merry and Pippin, though, as the comic relief.
Gimli's crying uncontrollably. Pippin just looks right at the camera. He did.
All right, Mike, on that note, I gotta let you go, my friend.
Right.
But thank you for joining me again and sharing your thoughts and answering straight up. And I agree with you. I will full on say I do think The Hobbit is the worst of the two prequel trilogies.
Oh yeah. Well, it was great to be here.
Was that an Air Force reference?
I guess it was. Royal Canadian Air Force.
Back in the day.
CanCon to the max. Yeah, alright. So yeah, great to be here, man. And hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Oh, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. We definitely will. All right. Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed. And yeah, what did you guys think? Which did you think was the worst trilogy? If you do disagree with us, please don't bite our heads off. Because that happens. Fan reactions seem to be like, let's get harsh for no reason. Let's have a calm conversation.
Let's light some torches and go after the people who said opinions that differ from ours.
Exactly. That's happening way too much these days, and that's a different podcast for another time. Thanks for listening, everyone, and God bless. Take care.